So after Halloween 2018 was seen as a success, it was pretty much guaranteed that we were going to get a sequel. And whenever the sequel, Halloween Kills, was released to theaters, it was met with a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people either loved this movie or absolutely hated it. And I'll admit, whenever I first watched this movie, I was one of the people that absolutely hated it. But now I kind of love it. What changed? Well, today we're going to talk about that, so let's get spooky. Greetings everyone, my name is Nightshade, this is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today we're looking at Halloween Kills, released in 2021. And this is absolutely one of the most divisive films in the entire franchise. And I can't say for certain because, at the time of recording this, I haven't dropped it, but I do have a feeling that the comments on this film are going to be all over the place. I am absolutely here for it. I've been enjoying the very diverse opinions going on in the comment section of all these videos, and I'm truly happy that the toxic levels in the comment section is also quite low. I mean, there's been a handful of assholes for sure, but the majority of you have all been very respectable in the giving of your opinions, and for that, I salute you. But now, on to Halloween Kills. This is one of those movies that whenever I first watched it, I absolutely hated it. Michael Myers was cool, the kills were cool, but that was about all I liked of this film. And then I watched it again on streaming, and yeah, it still just didn't do anything for me. But then I rewatched it for this review series, and I had a great time. So much so that I watched it again a day later, and I found even more enjoyment out of it the second time of rewatching this. And there's a handful of things that did a complete 180 for me in this film that make a lot more sense now, and I don't know if it's also the fact that, I watched all of these movies and there's a lot of bad eggs in the bunch that I just don't enjoy, and maybe that has something to do with my enjoyment of the film this time around. I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell you, but I do enjoy this movie now. I've had a lot of fun the past couple of days rewatching this movie, and I'm super excited to talk about it. And I know there's people out there that still hate this movie, and that's entirely fair. I get it. I was right there with you. I did not enjoy it for the longest time. One of those people that still hates this movie, that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to convince you otherwise. That's not my job. As a matter of fact, none of this is my job. I don't get paid to do this. I have the opportunity to get paid to do this, but I still do it 100% free, simply because I love talking about horror movies, and that's what we are doing here. So if you do enjoy this film, sound off in the comments below. Tell me what it is about this film that you absolutely love about it. And on the other side of the coin, if you hate this movie, sound off in the comments below. Tell me what it is about this movie you hate. Tell me what it is you disagree with me on. I truly enjoy listening to people's opinions on films that differ from mine. It's a lot more fun that way, and I like gauging and understanding why people like things that I don't like, or why people like things that I do like. It's a lot of fun for me. Now, with that being said, let's go on to the review. For this film, I'm going to break it down into 3 categories: the positives, the negatives, and the gray area. And then when we are done with that, I'm going to score this movie out of 10, and then we will end the video. So now let's get this party started, right? That was dumb. Anyways, let's get the review started, but we always start off on the bright side with even when I was not an enjoyer of this film, I always loved the flashback sequence. I enjoy it because we do, in fact, get a follow-up to the 1978 film in this continuity as to how Michael Myers was captured. And I know they touched on it in Halloween 2018, but this one we actually get to see it happen. And I really enjoy it. I love the fact that they painstakingly recreated the Myers house from the original. And I know a lot of people didn't really enjoy the seeing Loomis again, but I personally loved that. I love it even more whenever we found out that that was not deepfake technology that recreated Donald Pleasence's look. It's actually just some guy that looked like Donald Pleasence that they added some makeup and prosthetics to make him look even more like Donald Pleasence.
We have this guy, Tom Jones, who's like our set construction guy. The second we walked on set, we said this guy looks like Loomis.
And then Chris Nelson knocked it out of the park.
My biggest fear was that once the makeup was on, he would look less like Donald Pleasence than when he did beforehand.
And they also had somebody fill in for Donald Pleasance's voice, and yeah, I thought they did an amazing job with that. And whenever I say things like, you know, CGI will never be able to beat good practical effects, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, just look at Superman's mustache, for fuck's sake. Like, that is terrible. Practical effects will beat out CGI any day of the week. But yeah, the flashback sequence is an absolutely amazing sequence. I've always loved this sequence, and yeah, I think it looks great. Now, moving right along, we are going into our next positive, which is... This is hands down one of the most badass moments in the entire Halloween franchise, if not the reigning champion of badass moments in Halloween of all time, because holy shit. Like, whenever you look at this sequence from start to finish, whenever you look at this sequence from start to finish, I got it that time, it is just badass entirely throughout. Like, whenever that firefighter falls through the floor and Michael Myers is aware that there is now prey and opens up the door looking mean as fuck, takes his ass out, takes out the other firefighter that is trying to help him out, and then we see him walk through the front door of a burning building holding a Halligan bar, and he just looks mean as fuck. And the way he like grabs the bar and is all like, all right, motherfuckers, your asses are mine. And holy shit, dude, I just got goosebumps thinking about that. Like, oh man, it is one of the best scenes throughout the entire Halloween franchise. And not to mention, they filmed all of that in front of a real burning building. Like, they could have gone with the CG route, but no, they did practical effects yet again, and actually filmed that entire sequence in front of a real burning building, and they were racing against the clock to get every shot that they needed, and they did it quite successfully. And for that, you're getting some applause, because, you know, again, practical effects over CGI any day of the week. And moving right along, we have our next positive, which is... Michael Myers escapes his Inferno death trap and continues his killing spree. Meanwhile, the town of Haddonfield hears the news that Michael Myers has escaped and creates a mob to go and take him out, losing all of their lives in the process. Love it. Now, although it is a simple story, it is a very simple story, you don't have to go overly complex in your stories to have a great story, and I enjoy the story of this film. And you know, it continues the story from the previous film onto this one, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. Now, moving right along, we have our next positive, which is... This movie lives up to his name with Halloween Kills, because we do get a lot of solid kills in this movie. Like, we get main characters that die in this movie. We get groups of people that die at the hands of Michael Myers in this film, and I fucking love it. And these kills actually showcase Michael Myers' sadism as well. Like, whenever he attacks the old couple at the beginning of the movie and kills the husband and then just keeps sticking him with knife after knife after knife. Mean as hell. And there's a point in time whenever Cameron's being attacked by Michael Myers and he lets him go after Allison, and then he makes Cameron look like a fucking owl by turning his head all the way around. Haha, yes! Oh, I love the kills in this movie. They're fucking savage as hell, and I just love it. I love it. Michael Myers is absolutely brutal in this movie, and I fucking love it. And speaking of, we have our next positive, which is... Michael motherfucking Myers is one of the beastliest Michael Myers we have ever seen committed to tape thus far. James Jude Courtney reprises his role as the Shape, and he does an even better job in this one than he did in Halloween 2018. And I think he did an amazing job in 2018 and somehow took that character and made him even better. It's like they took what was great about James Jude Courtney's Michael Myers in Halloween 2018 and they cranked that shit all the way to 11. But yeah, Michael Myers in this film is fucking beastly, and yeah, one of my favorite portrayals of Michael Myers of all time. And a couple people pointed out that I did not talk about Michael Lerner as Michael Myers in Halloween 6 because he did the reshoots of Michael Myers. I will mention that Aaron Armstrong in the flashback sequence is also an amazing Myers. Like, I think him and James Jude Courtney really understood like Michael Myers' movements and what makes Michael Myers look as evil as he does, and I think he also nailed the role of Michael Myers. And if you have been watching up to this point, you know what our next positive is, and that is... I love both iterations of the mask in this film. They need to contract Christopher Nelson to do the rest of the Michael Myers masks in any future production for any Halloween movie that we get in the future, because holy shit, does he knock it out of the park. I love both of the fucking masks in this movie. I think they are absolutely phenomenal. And before we talk about the main mask used in this film, let's go ahead and talk about the flashback mask. Holy shit, does that thing look awesome. I wish I had one of those in the collection to show it off and show off the details and everything like that, but I don't. It does look very reminiscent of the original Kirk while also being its own thing. Like, I can't say for certain, but it just looks like a Halloween 2018 mask that he smoothed out all the cracks on and made a very vibrant white with some shading as well to give like artificial shadows in the mask. I can't say that for certain. I mean, he absolutely could have done a ground up sculpt and I would be none the wiser. But I mean, of course, he created both masks, so they're going to look similar even if it was a ground up sculpt. But yeah, the flashback mask, I really want to get one in the collection. It is one of my favorite masks in the entire franchise. And then we have the main mask that was used throughout the film, which is this mask here, and it is one of my favorites in the franchise. It just looks absolutely amazing. But yeah, I think this is an absolutely phenomenal mask. This was rehauled again by the homie Dean Knight 333 over here on YouTube. We'll link his channel in the description below, so if any of you guys are in the market for one of these, he does a great job at a very fair price, like cheaper than most other people, and he does a phenomenal job. You know, I'm a huge fan of dirty, beat up, old, torn up masks. I think they add way more character to a mask, and even though these are artificially put into the mask, I think it still looks cool even though it's artificial. Yeah, one of my all-time favorite masks in the franchise for sure. Now, my next positive is going to be a little bit more on the controversial side because it is one of the things that I hated about it the first time I watched this film. So please bear with me before giving me any hate comments below. Just let me explain my side of the story on our next positive, which is... Now, I understand most people's disdain for the mob in this film. I get it 100%. It was one of my least favorite things about this film whenever I first watched it. And they make a lot of dumb decisions as a mob, and that's because mobs are fucking stupid. And, you know, it is what it is. And if you hate the mob in this film, fair. That's entirely fair. You know, I do think it accurately represents how fucking dumb mobs are. And the thing that coincides with people's hatred of this mob is the whole Tivoli thing. Like, I've seen people that hate this movie that, you know, often go with the Tivoli situation and kind of point that out as this mob being fucking stupid, and you are 100% right. One of the main arguments to that point that most people make is, how do you confuse a Danny DeVito looking guy for Michael Myers? The fact of the matter is you don't. But for this mob, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it genuinely doesn't fucking matter to them if that was Michael Myers or if it wasn't Michael Myers. They wanted blood, they got blood. You know, one person said that's Michael Myers and the rest of the mob followed suit. It didn't matter if it really was Michael Myers or not. They were guilty by the court of the public opinion. And the court of the public opinion is one that is very hard to get acquitted from. Now, I'm not on some fucking anti-cancel culture stupid shit like that. That's not what this is at all. I'm just saying that when groups of people make up their minds that that is what that is, then it is so hard to get people to sway their decision elsewhere. Perfect example, O.J. Simpson. You know, whenever he was pronounced innocent by a court of his peers, you know, we, the people, all said, no, that motherfucker's guilty, and we made our minds up that he was guilty, even though he was proven innocent in a court of law. And there's plenty of other examples. That's just the one that I could think of at the moment. I am really hyped up on coffee and energy drinks at the moment, so all that, like, my brain is just going a million miles a second, so I apologize. And you know, it used to make me really mad when I saw people defending this movie by saying things like, how are they supposed to know? You know, it's been 40 years. People change over the course of time, so they could have thought that was, they definitely could have thought that was Michael Myers. Fucking no. I did not buy that at all, and I still don't. I still don't subscribe to that interpretation of the mob's mentality here. And maybe it's because I've been rewatching all these films, so I've got all those old films in my mind constantly. And in Halloween 1, when Loomis says,
I should notify the radio and television.
No.
If you do that, they'll see him on every street corner. They'll look for him in every house. Just tell your men to keep their mouths shut and their eyes open.
Don't tell anybody, they'll see him on every street corner. Like, this movie kind of highlights exactly what Dr. Loomis was talking about in the first Halloween. And that's exactly what happened. Somebody was all like, that's Michael Myers right there. The rest of the mob followed suit, and they were out for blood. They got blood. It didn't matter if that was Michael Myers or not. Mobs are inherently stupid, and you know, it's like a one-track hive mind. And if one person says you are guilty, they all go after you. Like, mobs are fucking stupid. So yes, the mob in this film is stupid, but it is an accurate representation of mobs of the modern day. Again, I want to say that I'm not being preachy here, and I'm not being political by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying this from the standpoint of a human being watching other human beings behave in nature. And I also think that mobs are stupid, and I think they captured the stupidity of a mob and a hive mind mentality pretty fairly accurately, and yeah, that's all I was saying with that. So, moving right along, we have our next positive, which is... I fucking love the way that they ended this movie. I love the way that they ended this movie for one simple reason. Because Michael Myers fucking wins. Michael Myers kills a mob and kills one of the main characters and gets away scot-free. And I really, you know, I'm a huge fan of downer endings, and this is a great downer ending. I thought Karen and Allison were going to survive simply for, you know, like plot armor purposes, but no, Karen fucking dies. I genuinely love the way that they ended this movie, and it makes me so happy that in Ends we actually got the biggest, baddest showdown of all time between Michael and Lauren. And it's a damn shame that we're not gonna get the trilogy that we deserved. Instead we got some bullshit, but yeah, the way that they ended it in this film was great. I thought it was a good ending, and I love the fact that Michael Myers wins. So that's gonna do it for the positives, and before we move on to the negatives, let's go meet in the middle and check out So the reason that this one is in the gray area is, you know, like, it's cool that Michael Myers kills the fucking mob that, like, pieced him up, and, you know, he was chilling in the streets, and they could have got the kill shot on him, but they didn't. However, the way they did it was fucking weird. So rather than doing like some amazing choreography like they did at the beginning of the film whenever Michael Myers takes out the firefighter squad, this one is more like a dream sequence for whatever reason. It made this look like a dream sequence kind of kill, and you know, I've heard some people say it's Michael Myers' legend growing stronger, or some silly shit like that. Like, for me, it was just a stylistic choice that I don't think fits the narrative of the movie. It doesn't fit the vibe of the movie. Like, sure, in the flashback sequence, you know, we got that's him, that's Michael Myers, but you know, that's small. This is a long, drawn-out scene of Michael Myers killing the mob, and I just don't think it works. It doesn't work for me. Like, I don't hate it because some of the kills in it are brutal. It's just the way it was filmed kind of bugs me. And so, yeah, it's not egregious enough to be on the negatives, but it's not positive enough to be in the positives. So that's why it is here in the gray area. And that's the only one I've got for the gray area. Now it's time we move on to... You know, I didn't forgive everything that I've hated about this movie. There are still some things in this movie that I hate, and the bar scene exposition dump is absolutely one of them. And, you know, Tommy Doyle recaps the entirety of the original, you know, 1978 Halloween, so, like, that's dumb. Didn't need to happen. All right, so this one is going to be a little bit on the weird side as to why this scene pisses me off, but here it goes. They are at a talent show. I mean, there's people there to sing. There's people there with actual fucking talent doing something at a talent show contest for Halloween. What the fuck is your talent, my guy? Like, you're waxing poetic, and I use the term poetic very loosely, but he's waxing poetic about, you know, the rehashing and retelling of the events in 1978's Halloween, and he's doing a piss poor job at it. That has always bugged me, you know, like, people don't go to talent shows to tell stories. That's not a thing that happens. Like, maybe if you are going to a talent show to be a comedian, That format might suit you well if you make the audience laugh, but I don't know. It just has always bugged me, and it always will. I think like it even though I enjoy this movie now, like watching it the second time after, having a newfound love for this film, that scene like genuinely pissed me off even more. So our next negative is actually just a small little gripe that really gets underneath my skin, and that is...
Evil dies tonight.
Evil dies tonight!
Evil dies tonight!
All right, evil dies tonight! Not evil dies tonight!
So in one aspect, I like the fact that it is the antithesis to Hope Lives Today, Evil Dies Tonight type of situation. So like the origins of that saying, pretty cool. However, it is used to an annoying amount in this film. And even though I now like the mob aspect of this story, I still fucking hate the Evil Dies Tonight. Like the chanting and chanting and chanting like that. Oh my god, it gets on my fucking nerves. So yeah, Evil Dies Tonight is used entirely too much in this film, and it gets on my nerves. So it had to make it onto the negatives list. So now we move on to my final negative, which is... Oh yes, what was a positive in the last film is a negative here, and I'll tell you why. For my money and for my opinion, whenever it comes down to a big legacy sequel and stuff like that, it's cool for your first film to have a bunch of Easter eggs in it. So it's cool for me when like a legacy sequel, like the first outing of a legacy trilogy, if you will, gives nods to the previous films in the franchise, and it's not just Halloween, it's, like Star Wars did it, a lot of these other legacy sequels did it, and it's cool that they pay homage to what came before it in the first film. However, in the sequels that follow, I think it counts more as pandering. Like, you had your time in the first one to pay homage to the greats that came before you. Now do your own thing. And especially if a movie sucks and they just keep throwing Easter eggs. I'm looking at you, Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Terrible fucking movies. It's cool for your first outing to do homages to what came before. However, in your second follow-up, you need to do your own thing. Like, be your own movie, have your own voice. Don't rely on things of the past so people go, oh, I understood that reference. And if you can't do it on your own volition, then guess what? You're just gonna be reminding us that we could be watching a better movie. And I'm sure that's the case for, probably like 50% of the people that are going to be watching this and watching that movie. So like, yeah, it just feels like pandering at some point in time, and it doesn't have to happen in every single one of your sequels. And that is the review. Whenever I first watched this movie, it would have definitely been like a 3 or a 4 on my rankings list, but now it's going to get a solid 7 out of 10. So that's just gonna about do it for me. If you liked the video, let me know by leaving me a like. Comment down below what you want to see on the channel next. I will do my best to accommodate, and until next time, my name is Nightshade. This is The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky, my friends.